That's fine. What you do is okay. You can click to next slide.
Yeah, because I mean, this is how we started. We just went through the chapter, and Nishat identified a bunch of different things, like big ideas from the chapter, and we kind of picked two to be conversation starters, put them together, and then Nishat can talk about this more, but there were several couplets that we thought would also be worthy of just going a little deeper on. So, but this is the extent of my involvement in putting together this second slide. So if anyone would like to lead a conversation on it, like Nishat or anyone, please go ahead.
Yeah, I see nobody's talking. So
I think we're still reading, but
okay.
but yeah, so
Oh.
maybe we just can take one at a time and or two at a
Yeah.
time or something.
Someone read one out loud and then we could talk about it. Something like that. So Nishat, why don't you read one?
Okay, I'll begin with the first. So thou shouldst do works regarding also the holding together of the peoples. In Sanskrit, it's Lokasamgraham evapi sampasyan kartum arhasi.
So can I ask something? The holding together of the peoples, I mean, how would we translate that we should do work regarding the holding together? What is the holding together of the peoples?
Well, Lokasamgraha. Yes, Lokasamgraha is a philosophical term which many philosophers and freedom fighters use. Even Gandhiji was using Lokasamgraha in his way, and as you know. So Samgraha is quite clear, that bringing together, holding together, Loka. Loka can be the world or people, or many people. Holding together different people, or it's already having something to do with dharmic attitude towards manifestation, where everyone finds its proper place, relations to others. Yeah. In dynamic sense, all the elements have to come harmoniously and truthfully together. And so the one who sees sampashyan, totally sampashyan, sees in all relations things, he should do this Lokasamgraha. He has to act in accordance with Lokasamgraha. That's a good enough aim to act. Yeah.
So may I say something then?
Yes, please.
So then, for such a big task to be taken up by someone, that person has to be like an divinized man or the avatar, because only he will have these qualities in him to hold together the people, because he will be above his ego, he will be above his desire, he will be above his attachment, he will be a totally conscious human being, and therefore he will be more on the divinized path, like an avatar. Or am I wrong?
I think it connects everyone to, if we are to act without any motivation by desire or preference, or what could be the motivation if it is in this world, as how and why we should act. This would be one of those motivators, to work for Lokasamgraha.
Right.
Which is actually a way towards liberation. You may not be liberated already. You may still be on the way, but this could be the way. So it will remove your egoistic preferences slowly. That's what Mother said for Aurovilians. Unfortunately, it was never realized in that way, but it was intended that everyone there would remove his preferences and would work in collaboration with others. Mm,
The collective, for the
mhm.
collective.
Yes, it's even not collective in the sense how we understand it. Yes, we understand it in a very narrow way. Collective. It's like majority or something. It's not this type. It's something more. It's more holistic, more integral. Yeah, where all the elements find their right place, which is not the collective we are usually when we use this word have in mind. You know. We usually think about majority, where majority goes, all the others have to go. But there could be only one person who is totally true what to do, and the majority may move totally different direction. That's usually the case, and that is the weakness of democracy. The majority rules, so to say. The weakness, and also there is a very positive part in a democracy, that is that every individual is treated equally. And that's something what Sri Aurobindo is praising. But he is not standing for this kind of majority movement, yes, that everybody should do as the majority does, because usually majority is a lower nominator and drags us down, usually. And minority is pushing us forward. There are usually a few individuals who are at the head of the movement. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
So when I read this, I was, and I could have misinterpreted it, but instead of, as you become more divine, or whatever the terminology is, instead of stopping and being detached from anything, we already talked about that last week, that was not the intent. But this I looked at as the type of work and the type to model the behavior. If you go, so don't stop. You should be working and modeling the type of behavior that does hold people together in our what appears to be fragmented existence, but we know it's really a whole. Each other, I think we talked last week about we're always in relation with something. So I just thought this would be a kind of a model of that.
Yes, in true relations, you will support everybody's truth or true movement. Yes, and if you would take it individually. But if you would have a motivation, I understood it always like this, because Gandhi translated it in his way, Lokasamgraha. And others also took it in a different way, like a duty to society or some kind of, But if we take Lokasamgraha as human unity, can you imagine? We are living and acting for the highest ideal, for the highest realization. Then, of course, all the paths, all the elements will find their proper alignment with this ideal and will lead you to this transformation of consciousness, definitely.
So Vladimir, would you say is it just humans, like human beings as a species, or is it also, in relation with other parts of nature?
Well, to achieve human unity, we have to have the harmonious relations with the nature, definitely. There is no other way, actually. If we are robbing nature, we can't be united, because there is totally different mindset, competitive and so on. We need to harmonize ourselves with nature. By the way, I think it will be the major contributor to human unity, this ecological view on life, serving the nature and There are more and more movements in the world of this kind. I put on Facebook one post. There was one millionaire from Sweden who bought some million hectares of land in Amazon forest, only to preserve it, that nobody should touch it. Just bought the land and keeps it as it is. It is his property now. He will not cut the wood. So this is a new trend. This has to be done by many millionaires. They should buy all the forests and keep them.
Well, what about, I mean, is there any thought of that we're not separate from nature, that we are also nature?
Yeah.
Or is, hmm?
Well, the realization of human unity is actually, when we speak about human beings, yes, as representatives of nature, we are born in nature. We are the product of nature. But just let us think together. You know? So what is this human unity? By the way, very misunderstood concept in the world. We do not know what is human unity at all. We have no idea, actually. We don't know how to come to it, even close. We create all kind of, units, bigger units, kind of European Union notice. Sri Aurobindo predicted European Union already in the beginning of 20th century. So these unions are coming together, but they really do not know how to become the one, the unity. In Europe, they found something very interesting, and I think it is because, as Sri Aurobindo describes, that the preceding stage is to be the national, formation of nations. Nation souls have to be formated and understood or felt or realized in the nation somehow. And we can see that's why we don't need the borders in Europe. We don't need the border from France to Germany. Nobody is going to attack France or Germany. There is no idea anymore to invade somebody's land. It is so obvious. Here France begins, here Germany ends. And when you cross the border from Germany to France, you even feel that the nature looks different. It's a French nature, and that was German nature. It's very tangible. It's a very strange thing what these nations mean. So these national cultures, they were formed, as Sri Aurobindo describes, by going over the borders, and then they came back to their own borders. And once they arrived back to their own borders, they got formed. So there is no more need to go beyond their borders, to find themselves. Why they went outside their borders? Because they didn't know where they begin and where they end. They didn't know their boundaries, as it were. So once they found their boundaries, or their, place where they belong, their land, for their own spirit, for their own nation, because nation is a spiritual entity, which belongs also, which depends on language and culture and history and land. Everything belongs to that particular land. Land is named in a particular way. The mountains, the greenery, all these French names are already activated on the French soil, so to say. It's a very intimate relation of the people living on the soil, on that ground, and the ground. There is some kind of harmonious relation. And Sri Aurobindo says that formation of nations is the necessary step towards human unity. It's a kind of the training ground where we learn to acknowledge and love others who are not from your family. We have a vast community in which you may love someone whom you do not know because of similar culture, language, history. You feel the vibration. You can easily express yourself with them, and you can be easily understood by them because you belong to the same spiritual formation which holds that nation, so to say. You could feel it. I remember what my brother was telling. He is from Ukraine, and he says when Ukrainians came to, there was this, when they wanted to join European Union and they wanted to be formed as a Ukraine, as a country, he said it was such a feeling. Everybody was uplifted. It was such a delight in the heart of everyone. People recognized each other by that delight. This is something we should not overlook. Yeah, we do not know how to arrive at that human unity. We cannot become united because we are good human beings. Nobody would understand nobody. Somebody from the culture of Ukraine would not understand English people or American people easily. He needs to train himself within his own before he will appreciate the difference and the uniqueness of other cultures. This is something we have to look into. So there is these 3 steps of Vishnu, as Sri Aurobindo says. First is family, second is nation, and the third is human unity. And if Lokasamgraha most probably all 3, yes? Starting from family, it is also Lokasamgraha. Then the nation Lokasamgraha, and then finally the whole humanity, the whole world.
Weren't we last week though talking about a nation being identity, and that being so much part of like maybe not our essence? I understand the connection to the ground, to the earth, but all of this other is all what humans have created for the earth. I'm part of this place of Turtle Island Institute. It's an indigenous community learning lodge in Canada. And I was struck just this one day hearing story of the matriarchs of the community. Because everyone in these meetings that introduce themselves where they are, but they don't say, I wouldn't say I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, the original land of the Erie Nation, right? The indigenous Erie Nation. But the matriarchs have a ceremony where they go out for first light before the sun comes up. And it's a time to contemplate what humanity's role is in between the treaty between the creator and the earth, right? That treaty. And because they don't even like saying where they're from at all, and not all the politics that have gone on to the land that's changed over time. And I just thought that was so beautiful and just so simple, the treaty between the creator and the earth. So I just wanted to share that as just another way.
It's very interesting what you said, because there is international attitude towards land. It's already emerging, so to say, ecology. We all are bound to earth, and if somewhere we don't have enough forests, we don't have enough oxygen for the whole humanity, for the whole globe, or water conservation, or air pollution. It's all our common problems, and they are already emerging, so to say. We can see them, but there is some element of nation which is intimate connection with earth, with land, with soil, which is different from just recognition of the mental problem for all of us. There are 2 different views. One is soul related, psychic being related, and that is the national, that is the nation. Psychic related to the psychic of earth. There is this love towards your own land. Why people went and died for their own land? They started wars. It's unthinkable now that they would die for the land. You would think that means they are driven by something which is very powerful. And nowadays also these wars are going on, Ukraine and Russia. The war is going on for the land. It's my motherland or my fatherland. You hear these words, motherland. Yeah. What is that motherland about? Yeah. Uh, and uh, and there is more mental, global, belonging to all problems, such as climate change or, air pollution and so on. So water conservation. We will have not enough water very soon. That would be the problem for all of us. Or COVID is another problem for all of us. Yeah, we cannot say that it is my national problem and that is not yours. It's everybody's. So here we have two considerations. One is more spiritual, another more psychic. And psychic belongs to the nation. It is that, Sri Aurobindo has a beautiful a chapter in the ideal of human unity, which is called a nation and empire nation, political and psychological unity. And if you look at this in the very title, you will understand immediately. So the political unity is the empire, the federation, yeah, where all things put together. We live together because economically it's feasible. We have to manage. And there is another entity which is psychological, which is deeper, which is uniting us on the psychic level, where we can communicate from a deeper realms. The more intimate relations. We have to establish love, brotherhood. And that is not coming from the mind. Mind is equality, same treatment for all, respect all, democracy. That is mind. But this heart, this unique love, unique connection to everyone is rising from different entity, as it were, different source. And that's quite interesting to think, those who are not related to Earth and those who are related to Earth. For example, Russia, if I compare Russia and United States, maybe I'm fetching too far, taking examples of this kind. The United States took the land which is not theirs. And you can feel it, that the relation to land is very relative, nearly non-existent. Very similar in Russia. Russian Federation got all those lands, Siberia, it's not their land. It was Mongols there ruling thousands of years, and it just fell into their lap. And they're having this, they don't know what to do with it. They have no relation to it. They don't have feeling for it. That's just a property to be sold. That's why they sell all the resources, cutting off all the Siberian woods and pumping out gas and oil, and they're just turning it into currency and nothing else. They don't care about the land. They don't have intimate connection. It's not their borders. Their borders somewhere there around Moscow, small place where they didn't find themselves yet. They have still to find themselves as a nation. They are not formed yet. They are still empire in the mind. That's why they're always going abroad, trying to help others, invade others. They're everywhere they have interests. Look at the United States, the same thing. Interests are everywhere. Yeah, because there is no sense of land. I'm not criticizing, I'm trying to analyze.
I feel like it's they're different nature of realities. It's different mindsets that come from that identity. And, for me, the nature of reality I personally choose is more, that's one grounded, with nature, right? And that deserves standing and is more even cosmos related. But some countries, that whole identity in the whole way of looking at everything is a resource, is a commodity. So thank you. I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
It's something like how people often go towards different paths till they find something that they feel belonging. Like it's something like the first, like when people searches and looks after, like there is a calling, but they don't know where they belong yet. So they go after different things till they find something and settle down. So, and also I'd like to draw some attention on, like, we talk about collective and individuality, but this is often a dilemma that's faced, like in a collective society, where in a country, if there is a stress more on the collective society, there is very difficulty in developing the individuality because it often clashes with the collective needs. And at the same time, where the society is more individualistic, as in the West, there is that thing about collective harmony or something that might be many times not taken into consideration. So how, as one person, because you cannot change big societies or anything to, so how as one person one can really balance that need between that collective wherever they are. Like sometimes they are at multiple, like at childhood they are in a collective society, when they grow big they are in a individualistic society. So how they reconcile, how they, one can reconcile both things and integrate it totally and still grow. Like, I'm not
That's
sure if I could put it
yeah,
very
yeah,
well.
very clear. That's why Sri Aurobindo speaks about national development. That is the link. The brotherhood is the link between the liberty and equality, between the individualism and collectivism. That is the link, where you can love your neighbor as you love yourself. There's something greater is possible, yes, which is not reconciled yet. We are going either for the whole and then we have to sacrifice individual needs, or we go for the individualistic, yeah, you can compare Democrats and Republicans if you like to go into politics. So something of that kind. Republicans are more individualistic, driven by this, that. Trump, look at Trump, how much he is individualistic. And then you take Democrats who are more taking care of everyone. Look at the Norway and Sweden. They are more socialistic countries, so to say. It's a capitalism with a flavor of taking care of others. They provide for everybody place. They take care of everyone. So they are criticized for that they are not driven by individualistic drive So, and reconciliation is only there. I would like to hear Marta to say a few words. Marta, could you, because that is your topic, it would be lovely to hear from you.
I was just thinking a lot about what it takes to develop a sense of community, because that seems to be what's very much lacking in the United States today. As you were pointing out, Vladimir, there's certain segments of society which seem to recognize a sense of community, to experience that, and to feel a responsibility in looking out for other people. For example, in the COVID crisis, being respectful of other people's health by wearing a mask, for example, if they don't believe in getting vaccinated. And then there are other segments of the society which just don't see things in that same way. And I think there's a certain level of consciousness, of development, of inner development that's needed in order to be able to get some kind of inkling of human unity as a reality. And once you have that sense, then I don't think you're able to put an us and them perspective into action, even without fully realizing unity, oneness, the greater oneness that we all aspire to attain to. Even without going that far, just having a sense of community, this sense of that we are all one, just this awareness, at least at the intellectual level, and that we have a responsibility to each other as human beings, and as actually, as Kimberly alluded to, as actually to all of nature, because we're certainly part of nature. We can't divorce ourselves from that. And I think one of the real challenges in this country is that we're not a homogeneous society. We're made up of many races, and in a way, it's a sort of Oroville writ large, in a sense, with some of those challenges.
Mhm.
And I think, we're given that task to, that opportunity to develop a sense of human unity and come together as a wider community with all this, incorporating all the diversity that we have. It's full of challenges, of course, and we don't seem to do very well at it sometimes, but it's also a vast opportunity.
Can I say something?
Mhm.
I think also because we haven't found the way yet as a society, nature is forcing us to work together to find it through crashing circumstances. I mean, the fires in the West, the fact that so many more people are realizing now that climate warming is a fact, is an actual fact. The only way to solve that is on a global scale, when we all participate. And these climate meetings in Paris, and there's going to be one in Glasgow, I think, soon, they are an attempt for these various nations to solve these problems which affect the whole of humanity by working together. And I think that it's nature's way of saying, come on, get on with it. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster. I think the sense of community can only really come, as I understand it, through some sort of spiritual development, some sort of psychic development, when we can identify to some extent with other people. And I remember Mother saying that when there's a conflict, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. You have to find the meeting ground above. And until we can move in that direction, should we say, I think we're going to get hit over the head by nature and the crashing circumstances of the earth as it is, which is heading at a rapid pace towards crisis, I think.
Yeah, wonderful. You know what you made me think with what you said about what Sri Aurobindo was writing about these three steps, and it was at the beginning of 20th century, before the Second World War. That's important. Yeah, the Second World War was the last attempt of this crumbling of the British Empire. All these empires fell back into their borders, back to themselves, and they are no more claiming any territory. They don't go anywhere, and they don't want anymore. So when somebody asked the mother about the Third World War, she said there will be no Third World War. And this is something to think of. Yeah? This kind of extension of somebody's beyond the borders is no more, it will be no more attempted by any country. Somehow, somewhere we found already the boundaries or the understanding of what that means to be nationally formed, at least in Europe, and many other countries, by the way. And even that melting pot of US, which is not totally the national culture, it's more international. But here the nature experiments with other matters, how to create that human unity, how to really make it, how is that possible to make, you know? So I think that new development we can see in the light of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. And mother was never in favor of national cultures so much. It's also an interesting kind of kind of knowledge which we gathered from her writings. Yeah, she was never supporting this idea of nation soul development. Only we had this international zone with pavilions where people will learn about other cultures and nations, and but not so much, how to say, asserting it as Sri Aurobindo did in his writings. And there is a certain development already towards human unity. Maybe it took another turn, or maybe we are already ready as individuals to evolve to this level. I am not sure. Yeah, it's just the world is in the making.
Should we do another couplet?
Yeah, please.
Would someone like to pick one?
Whatsoever the best does, thou does. That the lower kind of man puts into practice, the standard he creates, the people follows. So what the best does, the people follow him as an example. It's again that majority will drift towards the best, the one who is in front. He is the leader, so to say. Unfortunately, nowadays, the leaders are dragging the whole humanity in somewhere else. So they do their best in robbing others and showing how to do it for others. How to lie more effectively, more intensely, and more brutally, and being convinced in your truth, though knowing that it is not true. So these things happen, yes. But that is also an example for many, especially when I think about Russia. And they speak about this degrading level of consciousness, because only those brutal liars and can progress and can go ahead and take economically the country, the money, earn their living. And the people who are honest are considered to be stupid. They can't take advantage of others. They are honest. So this is also another wrong example which people may follow in some countries. But still everybody feels what is to be true. Yeah? So at the end, it will turn everything upside down. It will be just everything upside down. So even though those who were following the wrong ideal and were giving examples to others, at the end they will be treated as the enemies of the people. Because everybody inside somehow knows the truth. We know that it is a game, as it were, temporarily game. I will play that game, okay, because I cannot survive otherwise. So I will bend to the truth, but I know it anyhow. I do not know whether it makes sense totally, but we will see how all these, leaders like Ceausescu or Gaddafi or whoever was there, they had 98% of support of all the people before they were executed. So it doesn't make any sense,
We just have to have better people as leaders, the ones with the more developed interior lives.
Yes.
And then
absolutely.
that would be okay to follow.
Absolutely. And that's why you have this democratic system of choosing people, which other countries do not have, like Russia or Belarus. They're totally fabricated. Yeah.
And then when will that time come?
Well, we do not know about the time. Time is a relative factor, actually. Maybe it will be in our time. The changes are so rapid. Please share your thoughts. I'm talking, and somehow you dragged me into this.
No,
It's not my topic even.
no, it's very interesting listening to you. But it's just that, when you read Sri Aurobindo's books and the Savitri, and I'm very new to the essays on the Gita, I can't say much, but it's just that, everybody's practicing and they know the truth in their heart. But then when will we start working on it? When will that time come? Everybody's trying to aspire, trying to change, trying to transform in their own ways. And somehow we need a little motivation from above so we can, keep going on this path to find eventually something better.
We are like, like Adhar, which is opened to above and to below. And when the pressure from above grows, then the resistance from below arises and fills us in. We are filled with this darker presence. We can feel it. We can feel how much it demands from us, our space, our time. It takes our time. We are dealing with it in our thoughts, in our feelings, in our state of consciousness. We do not know why we are like this. Yeah, before it was so easy to just follow the divine, to concentrate, and now it's nearly impossible. It's just happening very intensely, and then very intense something else comes. It's like two extremes are put together, as it were. One is pushing the other. So the more pressure comes, the more resistance from below rises up. And it all wants to be transformed by us. It wants to be seen. It wants to be put in place by this light which is pressing from above. And we are that mediator. We are that radio station receiving both signals. And within us, all this battle is taking place.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Are you familiar with Age of Kali and how that has to do with anything that we're talking about? The 432,000 year age of Kali?
Oh, Kali Yuga, yeah. Yeah, it is actually described in the literature as Kali Yuga, and actually quite precisely described. If I will read you from Bhavishya Purana, from Purana of the future, you will be surprised how precisely they list all our problems, what will happen. Exactly what is happening now. So first of all, this falsehood, lies, yeah. This is the biggest obstacle. And lies are so intense and so rapid, so quick, that we do not have time to actually repair them. So to say the big lie comes and we are just concentrated on it, and then a new big lie comes, even bigger than that, then you don't have time to deal with that. You switch on this and then it's bigger. So intensity, the time, the pulse of lies comes one upon the other. So we have no chance to deal with them. We cannot even repair them. We have only to endure them. And just call for help from above, and that's it.
So, Vladimir, that you say this, I have a question. I've been asking this question for a little while now. And you mentioned, democracy. I don't understand, why do we allow people who are elected to office to deliberately lie? Like when we know, when it's spreading disinformation or propaganda, if there were just a law to say, no, you're separated from power, then we wouldn't. I mean, I don't know why we allow it.
I think the same way as you are. I'm just wondering why they are not brought to justice, that you said this and it wasn't true. That's it. That's the end of your story. No,
There's no law. There's no, it's not, we've got lots of laws. We don't have any law prohibiting that.
Interesting. Is it not interesting? Yeah. We have laws for positive statements, and we don't have laws for negative statements.
Well, there may be like a little
Yeah,
somewhat. It's
defamation,
not
yes.
enforced. Yeah, it's
When it is money related, but if it is, yeah, there are also defamations. But if you can lie not about somebody, but about the whole process, which leads everybody into disaster, you have to be also accountable. Yes,
at least if you're holding this power, if you're holding this office,
especially.
if you're out of it, say what you want, you know, but yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah, I'm also surprised to see this, that some people can say anything and it doesn't do to them nothing anymore. Somebody was examining Russia in this case, and he said very interesting thing. He said that they started with small doses of lies, little by little, drop by drop, like, you know, like this comes to your bloodstream. And then people became kind of accustomed to the lies. They become a kind of, they can handle it, handle more doses, more, and it is growing until it is, and they are totally bewildered. There is no more truth. Lie is the truth.
I think it's an indication of how standards have gone down, and I think maybe in certain democratic countries like this one, although I don't know a whole lot about the history, but certain things were taken for granted in politics. For example, that you didn't lie. But this has been over time in these modern days. This sort of standard has been eroded, and what was taken for granted has been challenged and sort of recognized as not being the truth anymore. So we get this whole massive line, and it's just as it's not only there amongst the politicians, but that also that influence creeps down amongst the people, amongst the nation. So
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Why they are supported by majority, by so many people are voting for the liar, because there is interesting thing, because we are most probably, and that's what I'm already calling to Martha's help, because we are at the brink of the subjective age. So, and here the subjective meaning, subjective opinion is valued even more and more and more and more. We don't have yet the opening to the truth. We are using it only on the vital level as a preference, but the subjectivity becomes the drive of life. And this is a very dangerous period, yeah, when the ego is taken for the truth, or for the true being, and in that sense all the preference, all the opinion, all, you know, my wish is this, that means it is true, yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, the danger there is that if something serves your interest, then you can promote it as fact because you have an investment in it. And that's extremely dangerous, of course.
Yeah. And money is playing its role here behind also, of course, and power and politics. Mother says there are three major heads of the dragon, yeah, which have to be cut off one by one. One is sex, which is very great power to support. That is kind of selfish way of enjoying life, yeah, a dharmic way, as it were. Not sexual relations within the family, because Krishna says that I am kama, I am the sexual desire, when it is according to the dharma. Yeah? When it is framed in the dharmic way, then it is all right. But it went out of dharma long ago, and so this kind of drive creates another. It supports the money power. Mother discovered that the money power is built on the sexual drive. This is something important for us to know. What is this money and sex, what they have to do together? So, and then there is another one. It is, of course, money. So we have sex, money, and politics or power. And she says that they will change, of course, but the politicians will change the last. They will be the last to change.
So is the money drive for money directly related to the proportion of the sex, like more that sexual thing, more that money, like something like that? Or is it like just those three powers ruling the world?
These three powers she spoke of, money, sex, and power. Sex, money, and power. But in her agenda, if you read the chapters where she speaks how she discovered the source of money, that is something interesting. You remember, yes, that chapter where she was wondering, Sri Aurobindo told her, I don't know why money power is not obeying my command, my will. Everything obeys my will, but not money power. And then she went into those subtle worlds to look for the source of money. And she met the spirit of earth first, Prithvi, and earth told her, I don't have money. Money is not my power. I can give you things which are on earth, but I cannot give you money, because money is extraterrestrial power. This is the word Mother is using, extraterrestrial. It's quite interesting. Yeah? And then she went into those occult worlds and she found the cave, which was full, shining with light, red light, like a cave of wonders, you know. And she wanted to enter it. It was the source of all money, of all wealth. But there was a huge python around who said, you can't enter this. And she asked him, how can I enter it? He said, either you kill me, conquer me, or my masters. And she asked, and who are your masters? And he said, the sexual power on earth. It's not an individual power. It's everywhere. It's from the animal kingdom up to human beings. So it's so profound that you can't conquer it. Yeah. And she says the trick here is that to conquer this power you can do only through individual approach. Later she says about this, that only through the psychic influence you can change the sexual power. You cannot make it for others. I cannot change anybody's sexual drive. Only he or she can do it by herself or himself. Yeah.
Did she discover anything occult with the sexual power?
And then she said she understood immediately how it works, because she says when people give donations for some project, educational project, they want everything, all paisas written down, how much they spend for what. They want all the reports. But when it comes to their enjoyments, then everything opens and rivers of money flows, because the desire is to be satisfied. That's how it works. That's why people who are working with, and she said something interesting later when she spoke about Navajata, that to rule the money, the power of money, you have to be brahmacharin. You have to conquer the sexual power. And then you will be able to deal with this force. Otherwise, you will be taken by it, one way or another.
Thank you.
It's a very occult story. Of course, there's more to it, but these are the elements of knowledge which, of course, we know it only from the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. We could not know it by ourselves. These are the gifts for us, indicators which help us to understand things better behind the screen. And you can see it in the world. Now, when you put your eye with this particular perspective, you will see that everything is done with a mixture of that power, a submission to that power, one way or another. Right, okay, we are over time, I guess. You're just exactly on time. Sorry, today was a strange discussion, not related to the Gita so much, only few ideas. Shall we close with mantra? Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santo Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I must say something before we close, that in the Vedic tradition they recognized two different influences which come to money. One is Lakshmi power. Lakshmi is not this power which is power of money today. And the other is Alakshmi. There are two sisters. One is Lakshmi, which is the power of bliss, harmony, supporting all. And the other is power of more of those panis, or those underground beings, gnomes, who are working in the mines, in the darkness, underground. They find the jewels and they keep them for themselves. The Kubera's wealth, the wealth of those powers underground, which are very selfish powers. So the selfish and totally unselfish powers of money. And both sources are there. So nowadays, that's Alakshmi dominates all, not Lakshmi yet. Lakshmi is the divine source. It's when all the money is converted to the divine power, then it becomes Lakshmi's force. We have to see these two, because it's not one-sided approach to money. We should see both sources of wealth. Lakshmi is more wealth. And wealth is not only money, relationship. That is wealth. Love, support. When mother is nourishing her children, she is not thinking about money. When she is taking care of them, she is not earning money. That is Lakshmi's force. Great. Okay. So we meet next time. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.